I just feel that I'm struggling again, and I'm kind of back at that realization that something has to change. We are a generation obsessed with productivity. We're the first to face the smartphone-driven, always-on grind set and a massive gap between our qualifications and our opportunities. Meanwhile, every single day, it feels like we are being bombarded with this carefully curated highlight reel of a social media influencer's lavish life, which just drives the wedge between our life expectations and reality even further. And the sentiment is basically always the same.
Get your ass up and work.
And so we work. We work so hard until we crash. And that is kind of where I am today. Hey everyone, today we are going to be getting personal and vulnerable, but there's also some important science and lessons to be learned here, so definitely watch all the way through if the hustle mentality has got you down. And of course, don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. It really does help your girl out. Let me hop in here super quick to tell you about my sponsor, Trade Coffee. So as you guys know, coffee is like a core part of my self-care ritual. It is definitely one of the highlights of my day, and it just really sets the tone for what's to come. So I am always looking for new brands and varieties to switch up and enhance my routine. If you guys have not heard about Trade Coffee, they're a specialty coffee marketplace that matches you with the best coffees from roasters across America. They've built relationships with about 60 different coffee roasters whose coffee is roasted to order and shipped within 48 hours right to your door. It's just like a really amazing system. The way it works is you can do a quick quiz, or you can shop their whole collection based on your preferences and style, whether that's like a specific roast level, cold brew, espresso, decaf, you name it. And then Trade will deliver from the country's top roasters right to you. It's amazing. I drink a lot of iced coffee all year long, so I've subscribed to the cold coffee collection. This means I get a new bag of coffee that's perfect for iced coffee or cold brew delivered to my door on my schedule. They roast the coffee right when you order, and it ships within 48 hours, so it is always super fresh. So if you want to try out Trade for yourself, check out the link in bio or visit drinktrade.com/Abbey to shop their site. Plus, when you subscribe, you'll get your first bag of coffee free, so go to drinktrade.com/Abbey Sharp. Okay, so bit of a backstory. Remember this? Yeah, 3 years ago, I legitimately drove myself into a very dark place, obsessing over maximizing productivity in every hour of every day. I was waking up every single day at 4 a.m. without fail to either work or sneak in some kind of mediocre exercise. I was rushing through my meals. I was trying to run a business and take care of a newborn. And in the end, what I got was a functional gut disorder, a sleep disorder, and postpartum anxiety and depression. It was a very low point in my life. And I worked so hard to get myself out of that hole. And I think I've come a really long way. I think largely thanks to medication, which is why I will defend that choice, even in spite of all the people, or maybe just one person, who has tried to put me down for that. And I cannot believe it, but my baby is turning 4 in literally a few days. I don't know if I'm having some kind of like midlife crisis that I cannot really afford to have right now, but I just feel that I'm struggling again, and I'm kind of back at that realization that something has to change. You know, I feel like a lot of people say that the 30s are the best years of your life. And for me, I would say without question, that has been true. I have everything I've ever wanted. But sometimes having everything at once is really overwhelming. And I just feel like I've been told over the years so many times that these are the golden years with your kids. Like, don't miss a single moment. They grow up so fast. 75% of the time that you get with your kids in their whole life is gonna happen before they even turn 12. My eldest son now is 6. I'm apparently halfway done. And that makes me feel a little sick and very heartbroken all at the same time. But then I remember that it's these same precious years that I have my kids while they're young that are also the years that I feel like I have to hustle at work. I mean, at the end of the day, why do parents work? Because we want to support our families, our kids. if we have them. And I want to set my kids up for all the best opportunities in their life. And I also have so many huge aspirations for myself. Like, I'm nowhere near ready to retire. I probably will never retire. But I often feel paralyzed by the fear that this could all be taken away tomorrow. And obviously I always throw things back to Taylor Swift, but I just remembered there's this clip in Miss Americana where she talks about how she feels like she has to work really, really, really hard right now at 30 while society is like tolerating her. And I have never related to anything more in my life. Well, probably except for like a million other things that Taylor says and does, but obviously I'm never going to be anywhere close to that level of success magnitude. Nobody will. But I also don't really have like a normal job either. And this job, media in general, is so unforgiving. Like, especially to women as we age. Like, the other day I was on like a live and somebody said, "You've got very nice, mature skin." I think that was supposed to be a compliment and it didn't offend me in any way. I was literally like, okay, yes, I think I do have pretty nice skin. It did serve as this very harrowing reminder that I'm probably kind of like past my expiration date by social media standards in some way. And even if like the social media gods just like let me stick around into my media geriatric years, YouTube could disappear, TikTok could disappear. I mean, I kind of hope it does sometimes, but I just have this nonstop buzzing anxiety in my body at all times that tells me, that drives me, I need to take every opportunity that falls in my lap right now while I'm reasonably attractive and I have platforms on which to work, because it could all disappear tomorrow. And then what will I have left for my kids? What will I have for my kids' future? And because of that, I'm the busiest that I've ever been. So, you know, obviously I do this. I operate my own supplement company, New Theory, which is a whole other full job. I'm working on 2 other business verticals in addition to what I do here and on my blog and on social media. And even though my babies are apparently not babies anymore, I've kind of like entered this new season of parenting, which just feels a lot more daunting than just like, oh, we got to keep these infants alive. And I love it all. Like, I love it all in isolation, and I love the mix. It fuels me. But at the end of the day, I'm not left with much. Like, I'm slowly kind of dying inside. And I did some like brief research. Like, I looked this up. I'm not alone. And there was this study done in the UK that found that the average worker now is burning out by age 32. I'm 36, so I don't know. Maybe this is my second burnout. It probably is. But over half of the 2,000 people that they interviewed, the reason why they're burning out is because they're working too much and they feel pressure by the always on culture. And this probably got a lot worse in the pandemic when everyone started to kind of work at home and the lines between work and home became extra blurry. But I've always worked from home. I'm always on. I'm always responding to questions and texts. And I have to kind of give myself these pats on the back because I think that I've made some great strides to try to improve my work-life balance because I have this incredible, amazing support team in place. But I just kind of think that the problem is that our collective standard for work-life balance, especially for us millennials, just kind of sucks. Like, it's really bad. And I feel this tremendous amount of guilt for like putting my phone on silent after 8 p.m. or for not waking up early and getting myself to start working before my kids wake up. And it's really starting to take a toll again. Sometimes when you're in it and you are actively damaging your body through this like unforgiving regimen, you just don't see past today. You're just trying to grind yourself through it. One day at a time. I can do another day. I can do another day. And that's what I've been telling myself. But I'm a science girly. And I think that one of the things that has helped me gain some perspective to break down the kind of risk benefit of this routine, not just in the day, but into the future, is what I'm going to share with you. First of all, overworking causes cortisol dysregulation. And we talk a lot about cortisol here. There's a lot of fear around cortisol. Cortisol isn't all bad. We don't want it to always be low. In fact, I did a whole video on cortisol myth busting, so definitely watch that, especially in the context of weight gain. We talk a lot about that there. But if our cortisol just never rose, we would be potatoes all day, just not able to get out of bed. That said, hormones are all about balance. Healthy hormones are about balance. And in healthy individuals, cortisol is supposed to be highest between 7 to 9 a.m. And then it's half that by like mid-afternoon, and then it's low when the sun goes down. But when you are chronically stressed and your cortisol levels are unnaturally elevated at night, as mine probably are when I have 65 unread work-related text messages at 8 p.m., it can cause frequent wake-ups, decreased slow wave sleep, so you are actually not getting good quality sleep, and general insomnia, all of which I'm apparently an expert in. And this actually goes both ways too, where high cortisol disrupts sleep, but poor sleep can further disrupt cortisol. Which brings me to another outcome, which is poor diet choices. Now, again, I talked a lot more about this in my video on cortisol, so definitely I do suggest watching that if, stress and anxiety are part of your life. But in short, a lot of people believe that cortisol just inherently causes weight gain or fat gain. And the truth is, yes and no. While cortisol can actually increase net fat breakdown across the body, it decreases the fat breakdown in the intra-abdominal area. And this belly fat, aka visceral fat, is the fat that is most closely related to chronic disease. So if high cortisol does cause weight gain, it's actually mainly because of its impact on our hunger hormones like ghrelin and in increasing our food cravings for these like higher sugar, higher fat foods. Researchers also linked overworking and burnout to excess fat consumption, emotional eating, uncontrolled eating, and just doing exercise less, all of which can obviously result in weight gain. Now, the impact on sleep, or I guess like lack of it, can also contribute to weight gain. So for example, researchers from the University of California found that when you are sleep deprived, the reward center of your brain just responds more aggressively to high sugar, high fat foods than when you are well rested. And as with like when you're stressed in the day, the lack of sleep can increase our hunger hormone ghrelin and lower our fullness hormone leptin. And I don't know about you guys, but I feel this so hard. When I wake up, because I didn't sleep well, I wake up so hungry, I cannot think about anything else. Even if I had like a full balanced meal and snack the night before, it throws everything off. So not surprisingly, there's been a lot of prospective research that has found that people who sleep less than 5 hours a night are about 35% more likely to gain around 11 pounds over 6 years. And again, the fat gain that is related to lack of sleep is also this visceral fat, which is associated with chronic disease. So even if you are thin like me, that is still a problem. That is actually one of the biggest risk factors for insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes, which also kind of brings in this other big consideration, which is blood sugar management. So when your cortisol is high from not sleeping or excess stress, as it is when you are overworking yourself, it can actually increase our blood sugars, it can reduce our insulin sensitivity, and it just generally disrupts normal glucose metabolism. And this, again, is important for everyone, not just people with diabetes. It also can increase heart disease risk as well. I would assume that when you're like 25 and you've got your first job and you are like, crushing it and grinding it out, trying to get into your boss's good books, you're probably not thinking about the risk of having a stroke. But I'm getting closer to 40, so I have to start thinking about it. And in the landmark Framingham Heart Study, they were looking at women and they found that women who just like grinded it out and did not take vacation for years were 8 times more likely to have heart attacks than those who took their regular, scheduled time off. So when I get into this mindset that I need to work my off today for a better tomorrow for my kids, with my kids, I have to just slow down for a second and think. It's probably not going to be better if I'm not healthy or even around. And I think that just puts things into perspective. And obviously the heart disease piece is a legitimate concern to me, especially because I do have heart disease in my family. But the mental health piece is even more significant because I'm already treading in those waters. But there is a ton of really good research linking overworking to mental health disorders, especially anxiety and depression. So there's this one study that followed around 3,000 working women over 5 years, and they found that even when they had no mental health issues at baseline, working more than 55 hours a week instead of, the more usual 35 to 40 increased the risk of depressive symptoms by 66% and increased the risk of anxiety symptoms by 74%. I would venture to say that all of us entrepreneurs fall into that work hour category, perhaps all millennials. And I'm somebody who loves her job. I love being an entrepreneur. I am so lucky and blessed to be able to combine so many different unique skills into this, unusually self-driven career. But I'm also starting to realize that I am of little use to anyone, not to my fans, you, not to my kids, not to my team who get paid and have a job only if I am working and have a job if I crash and burn out. And that's kind of the trajectory that I've been on. So I've decided that I need to make some big changes to the way that I structure my life. And I'm gonna put it out there to you guys because I need you to keep me accountable. Everyone's gotta keep me accountable on this because it's not in my nature to pull back. But yeah, some of these may seem silly and some of these may be obvious. But first of all, one thing I'm gonna be doing is I'm going to try to lay in bed until my kids force me out. Because often I'm waking up at like 3 or 4 a.m., especially during particularly stressful work times in my life. And when I do, I'm kind of feeling like, well, I can't just waste this time sitting in bed when I should be working. So I pop up and I get to researching and writing. There's a lot of stuff that takes a lot of time in my day and my brain is already going anyway. So I feel very guilty, just like wasting that time in bed. But what I've learned is this is just actually perpetuating my anxiety and stress. Like literally jumping out of bed to race to my computer starts my day with this unnatural cortisol jolt. And it's also likely training my body to produce more cortisol in the day, which just kind of like perpetuates the insomnia and the circadian rhythm misalignment. So I'm gonna try not to do that anymore. I'm going to try to lay in bed and rest my body, whether I fall asleep or not, and just not get up until the kids get me up. The second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off notifications earlier on. So my husband and I are both trying something new. Where as of 6 p.m., which is kind of when we sit down as a family for dinner together, we're going to put our phones on Do Not Disturb. And they are going to be away for the night, which is important for avoiding those blue lights, which can disrupt natural melatonin and circadian rhythms, and that has been associated with the risk of cancer, diabetes, heart disease, weight gain, etc. But maybe even more importantly, B is for our kids. Because I feel like my kids' generation have basically been raised fighting with smartphones for their parents' attention. And I think I'm a really good mom, but I'm definitely guilty of that. And I hate myself for it. And I am worried sick over how, the phone generation is going to affect my kids' mental health, never mind my own. That's a whole other vulnerable video that would likely include a lot of crying. But bottom line is I'm gonna try really hard to keep the phone away from my kids and from the sacred time of non-work hours in general. 3, I'm going to get dressed and undressed. See this? It's a nice dress. And I normally wouldn't be putting on a dress in the middle of the day because I have a work from home uniform like most folks who have jobs like me. And that really does make it hard to differentiate from like morning in bed to kind of, work time to family time to bedtime, because they all just kind of like feel the same on my body. Like the other day I spent almost the entire day not wearing pants, just underwear and a house coat over top, because I did not go anywhere other than, from the kitchen to my office. So I am going to try to make an effort to put clothes on in the morning, as silly as that sounds. And that doesn't mean I'm going to do my hair beautifully or do like a full face of makeup or whatever. I don't need to push it that far, but I should probably be wearing pants. And I'm going to see how that feels to my body. 4, I have to work smarter. I don't know how many group meetings that I have been on where I'm like, this could have been an email if I had to be involved at all. So I feel like I've worked really hard to build this amazing team, all with different strengths and all with different areas of expertise. Now I gotta let them fly. This is the time to let them do their thing. So if I can trust my business partner to make a decision and take a call, I'm not gonna be there. If she can trust me to make a decision on a formula, for example, they don't need to be on every single meeting or email chain. Every hour in the day that I'm working is an hour that I'm not recharging and I'm not spending time with my kids. So I have to learn to say yes to help on the tasks that are not 100% Abbey dependent. 5, I believe it is. I'm gonna try to spend more time with my friends. I kind of feel like one of the reasons why I feel so emotionally drained is because I'm just living this same monotonous Groundhog Day routine where I get up early, I feed the kids, I work out, I take the kids to school, I work, eat, work, make dinner, put kids to bed, go to bed, repeat. And then weekends are very busy with like kids activities that I just often feel kind of too bored, but also just too tired to refill my cup. So I'm going to make every effort to ask people to go for a midday walk or for lunch or for coffee or, run errands with me, whatever. Like I usually have to do these things anyway, but I think just having a little bit of social interaction during my week, because ultimately my job is very lonely. I'm usually by myself, but I'm hoping that helps me recharge my batteries. And finally, this one involves you, but I'm gonna take more breaks. And that is like strangely hard for me to accept because I have this very neurotic ADHD, OCPD obsession with order, and I don't like to deviate from routine. So for years, I was giving you 2 YouTube videos a week. Do you know how hard it was for my team to talk me down to just 1 video a week when we launched New Theory? I fought back. But now with YouTube and TikTok and Instagram and my blog, New Theory, plus 2 other projects, I'm not sure if we fully announced them, but there's a lot going on. I'm trying not to burn out, but she's banging at the door. And after one particularly emotional team meeting where I had like a full cry out session, my team basically staged this intervention where they're like, Abby, you need to take actual time off. We need to go dark on YouTube. We don't post on TikTok. We don't work extra hard to get ahead so that we can take time off. We're just gonna take it off. People will be okay that you need some time to refuel. So I'm gonna try that. And I'm going to take the opportunity to travel with my kids because apparently the world tells me I only have a few more years where they actually want to hang out with me. And obviously I 100% realize that that is an insane privilege that most people do not have. They can't just say, oh, I'm stressed, I'm just gonna go travel. But it's that for me right now, or I retire in a year and I've had to kind of weigh out the opportunity cost of all these different scenarios. And this just seems like the best route to take. So I hope I have your blessing on that. Next week, you're gonna get a video from me. And then I am off for 2 weeks to travel to the UK and to see Queen Taylor Swift. I'm very, very excited. And that is keeping me going. But that will give me lots of great time to ideate on lots of new content for fall. So I would love to hear any suggestions that you might have for some videos for that. And on that note, I am going to, go for a walk, grab a nice tea or something. And I will see you next time on Abby's Kitchen. Bye.